Hey you guys, so just up front, I wanted to let you all know when I went and made this tutorial, I was originally kind of debating whether I wanted to make it a series of shorter videos so that it was a little less daunting for you all, or if I wanted to stick with my get it all done in one fell swoop while I have the motivation. Um, and it was kind of really hard for me to decide that because I want to make it as easy as possible for you all. But I decided to go ahead and keep it with my get it all done in one shot. But for those of you that want to work on it by sections, there are timestamps at the bottom of this video in the description, but also the time bar that should be running at the bottom of your video will be divided up and labeled by topic. So if there is a specific section you want to go over, just jump to that section on the bar or in the timestamps. So that way you guys can still do it by sections, but I can get it all done while I have motivation. So I hope that doesn't disappoint you guys too terrible much, but if I don't do it when I have motivation, it's never going to get done. So that was kind of my thought process behind it. So with that out of the way, we'll carry on to the video now.
Hey, you guys. So, as we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of the school year, I thought it was high time that we delved into the world of Google Drive and all that that implies. So, the first one that we're going to look at, gasp, is Google Drive. So, for those of you that don't know what that is or how it works, it is a cloud-based storage system. What that means is, imagine there is a cloud in the sky that we can access through the internet. We are sending these files up through a line in the internet to the cloud where they are stored, and then when we need them, the internet goes up and grabs the one that we want and brings it to our computer. That was the most elementary description I could come up with. So, the example of how that works so well is if you're working on your laptop and you need to go somewhere else, or you're wandering around the school and you get asked, oh my gosh, when is the book fair? And you don't have your laptop, you can pull out your phone and you can access your Google Drive. That's one of the key perks of cloud storage. Also, nice little fun fact, because we are G Suite for Education, we have unlimited storage. So we do not have a cap on how much we can put in our Google Drives. I mean, don't go hog wild or anything, but go hog wild. Anyway, so this tutorial, what I kind of want to do is go over very quickly this side menu bar, maybe some of the features up here, some of the customization, organization, how to create all of that fun stuff. So we are going to start with our sidebar. Disclaimer up front, I am going to, in this very quick rundown, ignore new in my drive because that will take up the meat of this tutorial after my quick run through. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is priority. And this is a very simple view. It allows you to see a number of recently opened documents. Yeah, that's really self-explanatory. I don't know how better to elaborate on that. But the real quote, quote, powerhouse of the priority tab is Workspaces. This is a new feature that Google has added within the last year or two. And in essence, what it does is it creates a notebook where you can grab files from a plethora of places and store them there for quick access. So an example of that is last year I used this for Bulletin. Now, for my daily bulletin routine, I needed to gather information from the breakfast and lunch menu, from the transportation schedule, as well as the student of the week rotation, just to name like 3 things that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, I have those 3 items stored in radically different places on my Google Drive. I have the transportation schedule in sports. I have the student of the week rotation stored in the back to school folder from the beginning of last year, and I have the lunch and breakfast menu stored in a folder for the website. And the thing is, all of those items are shared with other people. So if I were to move them for my convenience, I could seriously mess up some other people. So that's really not an option to move them. That's where Workspaces comes in. I can then create a workspace, view that workspace, and then I can add files to it. That way, all I have to do is go to priority, and I can click through the things that I need for a specific project. Note, you can only have 25 files in a given workspace. So that is a small restriction, but I have not encountered an issue where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need so many more than 25 files. What on earth am I going to do? Okay. Okay, that's pretty much the priority tab in a nutshell. We will move on to shared drives. This is a feature that I don't know if we are going to utilize much at Sprague Lamont. I use it for creating a unified access between my personal drive and my work drive. Before all of you are like, what? What I mean by that is on my personal Gmail, I have a shared drive that I have set up that has all of my church related documents. So I have a folder for weekly bulletin, I have a folder for calendars, I have a folder for prayer chain, I have a folder for board meetings. And I want to give access of those folders to my work email. The reason I do that is because defaultly on my laptop, I am signed in with my work email. It's just what I use the most, so that's my default account. Come Saturday night when I'm doing church stuff, I have to switch over to my personal Gmail. And with my kind of shoddy internet, that sometimes can be a little bit of a waiting process. And I don't know if any of you know this, I'm not a very patient person. So I have to wait the whole 5 seconds more than I want to for it to load. Then I have to navigate to my drive when, in all actuality, I was already there on my work account. So what this allows me to do is give access to my work email, all of those church folders and files. And I sometimes am on the fence about shared drives because of the fact that the exact same can be accomplished by sharing a folder in your My Drive. So it's kind of up in the air on the practicalities of this, but it does have applications. I just don't know if we utilize any of those instances at Sprague Lamont. So that is how that works, though. 1 or 2 small things that you need to keep in mind. If you set up a shared drive, which you could easily do so that students have access to resources for a given class. Oh, look at me go. I just thought of a practical application for it. Okay, that's totally beside the point. Anyway, if you share a shared drive with someone, it's kind of an all or nothing gig. What I mean by that is I have shared my church drive, and it has a whole bunch of subfolders and files. Once I've shared the drive itself, I cannot pick and choose who has access to the folders and files inside. I can't just say, oh, Pam has access to bulletins, but Pastor Bob only has access to the board meeting. No, it is literally an all or nothing gig at that point. So that is a drawback of shared drives. Now, disclaimer on that disclaimer, I don't know what level it is on their priority list, but whispers have it that they are trying to look into an alternative way to use shared drives in that aspect. So there's my 2 cents on shared drives. Next thing we're going to move on to is shared with me. So let's say, for instance, I share the Chromebook logins with you all, which I have in the past, so that you can see all of the students' Chromebook login information. This is where you would find it. You would go ahead and scroll through, and this is sorted, not in alphabetical order, but by the date that you received it. You would scroll through, find the one you want, click it, open it, and you'd be able to view it. Anything, whether it's a document, a folder, a video, a picture, whatever it is, PDF, it will be found in the Shared With Me tab over here. Now, if you don't want to always have to go to your shared tab and scroll through and go, oh my gosh, this document that I wanted way down here, What you can do, and this is a really nifty tool. Let me find one I want to do, one of my tech ones. Okay. This is a document that I'm like, yes, I love it. I need access to it. Like the Chromebook logins. I'm sorry, I'm just saying. Anyway, if you right click on it, this option will show up. Add shortcut to drive. When I click it, it'll ask me to navigate where I want that shortcut put. Let's just put it in the basic My Drive. Add shortcut. Okay, now when I go to My Drive, that file that was not previously there is right there. And I can tell instantaneously that it's been shared with me because of this little arrow icon that's hovering over the Google Slide icon. That just indicates that it's been shared with me. But now I don't have to go into shared with me every time I want to look at it. And then at that point, I can still organize where I want it. I can place it wherever, and I still have access to it. The person who originally created it can still edit and update it, but now it's assimilated itself with my files and folders. Okay, recent tab is really self-explanatory. It is things that you have opened recently. I know, shocking, right? And this one just goes by the date that you opened it. Okay, next we have starred. And pretty much what this is think of this as your favorites or your bookmark bar. These are things that you want quick access to. You're like, yes, I like it. I'm going to use it a lot. I want quick and easy access to it without having to click through all my folders to get to it. You will have it right there. And the way you add something to starred is by finding a file, right-clicking, and if it is not already starred, this option right here will have a hollowed out star and it will say add to starred. If for that example, you wanted to remove it from starred, you would click remove from starred and it would take it out of this folder. I use this for like my timesheets. I'm sorry, I keep using this example and please don't be offended. I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. It's just evidently something I need to go to counseling for. But if you needed your Chrome logins, you could have them in here as well. I do. So yeah, that's just a quick, easy, think of it like your bookmark bar favorites folder. The next one is trash, self-explanatory. When you delete something, it comes here. So something I want to point out, when we did our Google Keep tutorial, I mentioned that Keep will empty its trash can every, I believe it is 7 days. Google Drive, as far as I am aware, does not have a similar process. I say, to my understanding, because the beginning of last year, I went to come into the trash can to restore something that I had accidentally deleted and found that I had files from 3 years prior in here. So if you are one of those people that still wants to be conscientious of your storage space, you can manually empty the trash can, which is the only way to actually empty the trash can, by clicking empty trash. And then you will have empty trash. Okay. Again, back to previously I said we have infinite storage, but if you are still someone who wants to be conscientious of it, or you like the nerdy statistics, you can click storage and you can see files sizes. Okay, that's really kind of the point of that. Okay, now the real essence of Google Drive. Let's click on the My Drive. And the first thing I want to point out is we have this little caret over here to the side. If we click that, that allows us to see the mapped layout of our Google Drive. And so we can navigate around Google Drive this way too. So I can open as many folders as I want, but then I can click on them and actually access the documents inside them. That is how that mapping section works. Just click this top arrow and they're all gone now. Now, I'm actually going to use this as an example, like a segue for navigation, because if you look up at the top here, you can also see the mapped out path to where we are currently at. So we are in the flashcard review of logs folder, which is inside the pre-calculus 1 folder, which is inside the classroom folder, so on and so forth. Let's say I wanted to navigate through, but I don't want to keep hitting this back button. I can click on any of these up here, and it will take me back to that point in my path. The next thing is kind of the basic overview of what the My Drive tab looks like. So up at the top, we have our quick access, and it will show the 5 most recent edited, opened, uploaded files for our drive. So that if you are like, oh, I just opened my timesheet 20 minutes ago, I closed it, I did something else on the internet, I need to come back, you would be able to just click it and open it from your quick access. Okay. Underneath that, you will have a folders section. And this you can organize in 4 ways, one of 4 ways. If you click right here where it says name, that's the default organizational system. But you can change it from named to last modified, and that is last modified by anybody. So if you have a shared document and it was modified by the owner, it will take that into account. Last modified by me is files and folders that were just edited by you. And then last opened by me. Okay? So normally, underneath folders, you would have another section labeled files, and that is just your free-floating files that have not been assigned to a folder. And that also will organize them in the same manner as here. Okay, I am going to right-click and go through the menu option. So there are 2 ways to get to this menu. The first one is by regular left-clicking on a folder or file, and it'll pop up here. See how these showed up? Yep. The way that I generally do it, just because in my opinion, I think it's a little bit better laid out, is by right-clicking on it, and this shows up. So we have open with. So if you have a file like a PDF, you can change what application opens it. Underneath that is shared. Now, I'm going to start with shared, but note some of the process repeats itself in the get shareable link because these 2 kind of work hand in hand. So if we click shared, this is how I would give access to a folder or a file to someone else. So I am the owner. It indicates that. If I wanted to share this with Stephanie, I could type in her name. But the other thing I can do here is I can add one of our mailing groups. So I would click here and I would type in the name for our mailing group. So for grade school teachers, I would do GS teachers, and there it is. I would click it, and now everybody on this mailing group is a recipient. So once you have your recipients entered, you can come over here and you can set their role. So when I click this, because I have a folder selected, I can only set the person I share it with as a viewer or an editor. If I was in fact sharing a file, there would be a third option here, and that would be commenter. So viewer, obviously, is only able to view the document. Editor is able to edit, I know, shocking, the document or the folder. The commenter, the thing that makes that unique, is they can give you input and feedback in a document, but they cannot actually change the document. So if you have ever left a comment on a student's assignment, you'll know that it will leave a square on the side of the document and almost like a word bubble that has your feedback, and then the student can interact with that comment and be like, well, what do you mean by that? Or, okay, I fixed it. Will you please review it again? That's how the comments work. So at that point, you would then type in a message if you want them notified, which most of the time I think you will want. But you can type in a message, and this is pretty much kind of sitting here going, hey, I just updated the Chromebook logins. Here is your current copy. You could do something like that for an example. Okay, once you've done that, you would click send, and it sends out an email to them. Now I want to show you one other small different feature with that share on an actual file. So when I click share on a file, the one thing I'm going to change is up in this gear. And the reason I didn't click this on folders is because it's actually missing one of these in the folder gear. So when I click that, it comes to share with people settings. These are settings that I found out within the last couple of months of using Google Drive. And these kind of set restrictions on what your collaborators can do. So, for instance, editors can change permissions and share. That means if I have someone set as an editor, they can change other people's permissions. So they could change an editor, a different editor, to a commenter. They can also share it with other people, whether I want them to or not. This next one is viewers and commenters can see the option to download, print, and copy. So I heard a really good example of this used. Let's say you have confidential information that you need to share with select people, but that you do not want getting out beyond that. You could deselect this and set those people you're sharing with as viewers, and then they cannot print it, they could not copy it, and they cannot download it to their computer. Yes, if you wanted to get really picky, they could still do a screenshot, but at some point, people have to take accountability for their own actions. You are trying to restrain that shareability as much as possible with these two settings. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is this get link section. And this is that hand-in-hand element that I mentioned is just below the share button. So this is if I want to share it via the link, which sometimes is very useful. So right off the bat, when I click this, I have this link, and we can see what the restrictions are. So right now, this link means that only people added can open this link. Okay, but what if I want anybody I give the link to be able to open it? I would hit this down arrow, and now anybody at Sprague School District with the link can open it as a viewer. But I want parents to be able to open it. Then I would change it to anyone with the link. Anyone on the internet with this link can view. And we can change it again from viewer to commenter to editor. This is what you would use if you wanted to somehow integrate it into your Google teacher page. So then at this point, I would copy the link and I would insert it wherever I need, be that an email or my teacher page. And then I click done. Okay, we right click on this again. I literally just went over this with that, so I'm not gonna navigate to it via this. This is how you could manually add a document to one of your workspaces, or you could create a new workspace. Add shortcut to Drive, we've gone over that. Move to. This allows us to change where we have a file stored. So when I click that, it shows me that it is in the tutorial folder. If I want to change that, I can back out of the tutorial folder, which in this instance puts me in my Google Drive, and I want to store it in my Drive now. And note, wherever I am currently at is the folder name at the top of this little window. So I want to save it in my Drive. I'm going to move it here. Are you sure you want to? Yep. Okay, now when I navigate back, there it is. So that's another way that you can move an item around. The other way was to click and hold and drag it. Add to starred, we went over that. Rename, so if I have a folder and I'm like, nah, I'm going to change that. That's where that comes in. View details. This one is useful from time to time because it shows you not only, your basic information like when was it created, who owns it, but it also shows you who has access to it. And then if you come over to activity, you can see who has edited it when and how. We have make a copy. I use that one quite frequently when I feel like I've hit like gold on the format of something and I need to make something similar. Report abuse, very explanatory. Download, that is if you have a document that you want a saved copy on your laptop. And remove is pretty much throw it away. I'm done with it. I hate it. I never want to see it again. Okie doke. So the last thing I'm going to do is come up into our setting bracket as far as settings goes, and then I want to delve into the search bar. And we're going to click settings, and these are, again, just kind of personality tweaks. depending on how you want things done. Now, I want to talk about the search bar because I have discovered in recent times that this search bar, it deserves a gold star, you guys. It is amazing. So earlier I was talking about how Google has gone out of its way to make itself as compatible with other applications as they can. So an example of this would be Microsoft Office. I know there are some of you that are more comfortable with it, but also like that it offers a few more options in the actual making of documents, whether that's Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. So you're able to upload those Microsoft documents into your Google Drive. And then the search bar, what it does is it looks for documents based on the type of document that it is, be it a presentation or an actual document. Just let me show you. Okay, we click this and we get all of these options. So we can search by word, keyword, whether that's the title or a word in the document. We can search by who has shared it with us or who we have shared it with. But this right here is what I was talking about. So note how this says presentations and not just slides, or documents and not just doc. That is because it will include PowerPoint presentations as well as Google Slide presentations when I click this. So when I do that, I get all of the PowerPoint presentations and slides that I have in this, be it that I've created or that have been shared with me. And I'm going to look at this one and this one. If you'll notice, this one has our Google Slide icon, but this one does not. That is because this right here, is a PowerPoint presentation that has been uploaded. So this search bar will go ahead and find it, even though it is not a Google specific presentation. The exact same when we use Docs. It will upload Google Docs as well as Microsoft Word documents. I did not realize initially that that was the case for this search bar. I thought it was Google specific searches. It is not. The last little thing about the search bar is this advanced search button. When we click it, we can really just go to town on how we find documents in our Google Drive. It is absolutely amazing to me. But yeah, that is pretty much it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, you can ask me. The next one that I will probably cover is Google Docs. So yeah, happy learning, you guys.